branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. We were prepared like any other operation. Weapons checks, coordination, working with the Emirati partner force, and then waiting for the intelligence that he was actually there on site.
كنت يومها استضيف بعض الأخوة الإعلاميين. كنا جالسين طبعاً ندردش حول موضوع الغناء اليمني يعني. كان نقاش يدور في هذا الموضوع. إلى أن جاء الخبر هذا السائق الخاص حقيقة اللي أستاذ نصاب لازم نمشي. قبل الوقت المحدد لي يمكن بنص ساعة، أنا خرجت يمكن 49 دقيقة 45 دقيقة يعني. وصلت إلى عند البيت سمعت انفجار. يتصلوا بي بعض الزملاء، بعضهم أعضاء مجلس النواب، يتصلوا علي يقول لي سلامات سلامات. أنا استغربت، سلامات أنا ما في يعني أنا سليم الحمد لله يعني أقول لهم. فاتضح إنه في نفس اللحظة نزل بيان في أحد المواقع إنه تم اغتيال نصاب مايو بحادث تفجير سلاح. في هذا الأثناء أنا عرفت إن أنا كنت المستهدف، أما قبلها ما كنت بعرف.
ولما عرفت كيف شعرت؟
طبعاً خلاص أنا شعرت بالخوف على أسرتي.
3 years later, when the UAE's drone footage was leaked to the international media, Ansar found out that Spear had been hired to kill him.
بالأخير نتفاجأ إنهم يرسلوا لنا مرتزقة يقتلونا في داخل بلادنا يعني. وأسأل نفسي لماذا لا يريدوا يقتلونا يعني لماذا؟ أنا أريد أن أسأل ما هو المسوغ الأخلاقي والقانون الذي بهم من أطراف المحيط ليقتلونا في عدن يعني لأي شيء لأي ذنب يعني.
Ansar fled Yemen after the attack and now lives in exile in Saudi Arabia.
On Ansaf Mayo in particular, what was it that made you decide that he is a terrorist?
Well, there's a couple things. One, we already know that he was being financed by the Muslim Brotherhood, and I can tie it all together. So
the Muslim Brotherhood they're not a terrorist organization.
Yeah, they are.
The United States government doesn't believe the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist
organization.
Yeah,
they did. At one point they did. Yes, it did.
Ansaf's party, Al-Islah, or the Reform Party, is one of the biggest political organizations in Yemen. Its policies are inspired by the Muslim Brotherhood, a popular international Islamist movement. The Muslim Brotherhood is banned in several countries, including the UAE, where their political activism and support for elections is seen as a threat to the rule of the royal family. But the US has never classified the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization.
If my handlers say, here's the intelligence, this is the target, and this is why, who am I to question? I'm a soldier for you. Roger that.
And your handlers are the UAE?
Yeah, they're the client. Yeah, they're the client, you know?
If your handlers, the UAE, said they are definitely terrorists, you had to trust that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it works.
The mercenaries will talk about their attempt to kill Ansaf Mayo because their cover was blown, but they're still guarded about the rest of their list.
So tell me about one of the other targets you pursued other than Mayo.
I'm not gonna mention any names?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so we had another target. All right, this one was kind of interesting. Now this guy was in a walled compound. It was a 3-story house, not very big, but 3 stories. Guys were asleep, but as soon as we started coming in, they heard the gunshots, everybody got out of bed, and then we had lights on our guns. They didn't, they just have, you know, basically slick AK-47s. And we went in and executed the targets. It was a fair fight, okay?
The story of assassinations first came to my attention while I was documenting human rights abuses in Yemen.
Hey, how are you?
Bara Shayban is a Yemeni caseworker with Reprieve's investigative team.
What you see here is basically tens and tens of assassinations.
The team has been compiling a list of assassinations in southern Yemen. Between 2015 and 2018, they've counted 102.
They've all followed the same pattern, placing IED bombs on doors or on cars, and then someone comes after and starts shooting the individual. If you see then here, you see a surge in assassinations that are happening throughout 2016. This happens after the arrival of Spears into Yemen.
25 of these assassinations took place during the months that Dale and Isaac were in Yemen.
Well done. Dale said they assassinated a person with all of his bodyguards.
Yeah.
This fits in.
One of the names on Bara's list is Ahmed al-Idrisi. He was assassinated the day after Spears' attempt on Ansaf Mayo.
Ahmed al-Idrisi had his security detail around him all the time. What we understood is there was an assault that killed him and everyone around him.
The details of this assassination match what Dale told us about the target he refused to name.
Isaac and Dale told me that they'd made visits to the port because they were surveying someone there. So it fits the description, fits the date.
Ahmed al-Idrisi was a leader of one of the Yemeni forces that helped drive out the Houthis. At the time of his death, his group had control of the port in Aden and refused to hand it over to the UAE-backed forces. Aden's port is a key strategic asset. UAE-backed forces took it over immediately after Idrisi's assassination.
Were you involved in the assassination of Ahmed al-Idrisi, which happened on the 31st of December 2015?
No.
Reprieve was one of two human rights organizations that investigated the assassination. Both told us they now believe Spear were behind it. As to other sources,
How many targets were you given?
Over 40.
And how many targets did you execute?
Not answering.
by early 2016, Dale and Isaac's time with Spear was coming to an end.
I left Spear and came back to the US.
Do you know if Spear is still active now in Yemen?
No. I can't say for sure because I'm not involved.
We asked the US Department of Defense and the State Department to talk to us about Spear, but they declined. Throughout 2016, assassinations continued to dominate the local news in Aden.
ضحايا بالمئات، سياسيون ومثقفون، دعاة وخطباء، أساتذة ونشطاء.
At the beginning, when those assassinations were carried out, people kept saying this is operations done by ISIS and so on. It was not until 2018 when we started to pinpoint that actually this is part of a systematic targeting policy aiming towards officials, some parliament members, and imams. When you don't have a unified definition about who's a terrorist, you have this chaotic situation where everyone can name anyone a terrorist and start going after them. These are extrajudicial killings, and the most important thing is that it's still happening until today. So, after we started to look closely into evidence of
Reprieve has obtained what they believe is a financial statement from the UAE's foreign ministry. It states how money described as aid for Yemen has really been spent.
It shows here quarterly payments being paid to Spear Operations Group. And this is the amount in Saudi riyals. This comes to close to $17 million.
We know that Spear were there at 20